So, Stephen A., I'll ask you this. Was he the right choice for MVP?
No, he was not, but that's not to take anything away from him. Didn't have any interceptions for the first, 43 games of his career. 4 of his last 5 games, he's had an interception. He was in the right place at the right time after Avril got his arm on Peyton Manning's right elbow, and it is what it is. The running back didn't even seem to want the ball that much. I mean, the ball just laid up in the air. He, stood there frozen for crying out loud. Didn't make much sense. But Malcolm Smith deserves a lot of credit. But I'm going to tell you, no, he doesn't deserve the MVP. To me, it can go to either Percy Harvin, Skip, who was absolutely electrifying, or I'm not going to lie to you, I wouldn't have a problem at all if the MVP vote had gone to the entire Seattle Seahawks defense. They were that awesome. I mean, you look at Clemens and Avril. They dominated Denver's offensive line. They just they had pressure on Peyton Manning all game long. They just completely dominated. You look at Cam Chancellor. We don't even need to talk about what he did. He set the tone with his hits, plus he had an interception, plus he helped force another. Then you look at Bobby Wagner, who deserves a lot of credit because he was all over the place, along with K.J. Wright and Malcolm Smith. And, oh, by the way, you still had Richard Sherman and Maxwell locking down the outside wide receivers for Denver. Everywhere you turned on Seattle's defense, they completely dominated. They didn't win, but struggled. They dominated. They reduced an offense that had put up over 600 points, number 1 passing offense, number 1 in total yards and points. They reduced them to rubble. They were nothing. I mean, this is the kind of stuff we're going to be talking about. As you look at the Denver Broncos, you're literally looking at them, and you actually found yourself having lost respect for them. Because you just said to yourself, you know something? This is not about, they just had a bad game. You got punked. You got your heart snatched out of your chest. You were reduced to a 10-man, no heart whatsoever. And they were scared to go over the middle. They were scared to catch passes. I mean, and Peyton Manning, he was tap dancing, all right? Yes, better than the late Gregory Hines, God rest his soul. I mean, everywhere you turned, there was just nothing. They were reduced to nothing, man. And it's all because of this Seattle defense. But if you want to give it to an individual, I'd say Percy Harvin. But I personally believe the Seattle Seahawks defense set the tone because everything was irrelevant from the time they went up 15-0.
Okay, I hear how you go back and forth. Could it be this? Could it be that? This was a really, really difficult, quick MVP vote. And Stephen A., I have been involved in many of these MVP votes back in my newspaper past. You're in the press box. You're trying to get down to the field so you can get down to the interviews in the last 2 minutes of the game. It's frantic. It's crazy. Your thoughts are all over the place. And some of these votes can come out screwy because you just jot down the first name that pops to the top of your mind. And obviously, Malcolm Smith, as you point out, did have a pick-6 return. Unfortunately, it's a duck that lands right in his lap, and then he's basically unchallenged all the way, 69 yards to the end zone. So I can't read a lot into that. I did think it was cool that a no-name player who played for Pete Carroll at USC, an LA kid, did win MVP of the Super Bowl. But if I had to vote for somebody, I agree with you. The whole defense deserved it, as I tweeted late last night. But if I had to vote for one man on defense, I would vote for Cam Chancellor. I thought he set the tone in this football game, even with that early blasting of Demarius you pointed out. It's just a 2-yard gain. This was 6'3", 230 pounds Cam against 6'3", 230 pounds of Demarius. And Cam knocked Demarius back, 5 yards on his keister. And again, he didn't hurt him, but he sent a message that had Earl Thomas jumping into his arms for joy because the message had been delivered. You can't come over our middle. Then later, Cam blew up Wes Welker on a route, and obviously he had the one interception. Again, a fairly easy, ugly duckling of an interception thrown by Peyton. Both he and Malcolm had 10 total tackles, 6 unassisted. Malcolm also had a fumble recovery. Maybe that gives him a slight statistical edge. Cam set the tone in this game. And honorable mention, Stephen A., has to be Russell Wilson. I wouldn't have been offended if Russell had won MVP because he made so many key throws, key third down throws that iced this game for Seattle.
Listen, I'm not taking anything from Russell Wilson. He played a good game. He really, really did. He was impressive, as was the entire Seahawks offense as far as I'm concerned. But they were an afterthought. When you think about the Super Bowl, you're not really thinking about the offense. If you're thinking about anybody, you're thinking about Percy Harvin because his speed, he was clearly the fastest dude on the field. Outside of that, everything is about their defense. I'm going to repeat this. The number one offense in points, in passing yards, did not register a first down until a few minutes into the second quarter. On top of it all, the Seahawks had a safety, 2 field goals, a rush TD, a pass TD, and a kickoff return for a touchdown before the number one offense in the game, led by the league MVP for the 5th time, who's a first ballot Hall of Famer, who entered the game involved in debate as to where he would go down as it pertained to being the greatest quarterback this game has ever known. He was held scoreless before Seattle, until Seattle had 29 points. I mean, this is complete domination. It was an annihilation of the ages. They were beat down, and it was because of this defense. It is that simple to me. Nobody on the offense was really relevant outside of Percy Harvin. Nobody was really relevant because the defense basically to me, the suspense was, are you going to let them score?